Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Star Wars Headlines for March 11th. I'm Rebecca Mosley, co-founder of laughingplace.com, and with me is Mike Celestino, our editorial director for Star Wars content here at Laughing Place. Hey, Mike.
Hello. How's
it going? I'm doing okay. Howdy, Amy.
It's a little chilly here.
Yeah, it's been weird here because we had like a really sunny day and then it started hailing and then it went back to being sunny. And I heard that was
crazy hailstorm here yesterday too. I actually got pretty good video of it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so it's weird because I saw tweets from friends in Southern California who were having similar weather to what we were having up here in the East Bay. So it's like kind of unusual to see that on both aspects of our incredibly enormous state. So let's see. With Star Wars this week, we don't have a lot of news per se, but we do have some topics to discuss. And I guess we'll start off with really what we have. I feel like this is our only like true news.
Yeah, and it's kind of something being taken away rather than something coming. So there was this Mandalorian original novel that got announced like a year ago. It was supposed to come out in the fall of last year, and then it got delayed a year. So it was delayed to fall of 2021. And then yesterday they just announced that they're not doing it at this time, quote unquote. So I guess it's indefinitely delayed and maybe just canceled. I'm sure we'll see a novel in the world of the Mandalorian at some point, but whatever they were working on is just kind of evaporated. So
right, and
go ahead.
I'm disappointed because this Mandalorian universe is such an interesting sandbox, and so I was excited to see kind of what would unfold with this novel. They did make sure to let everyone know that they're continuing to work with the author and that he has other projects with Del Rey. But this particular idea is not coming at this time.
They didn't say that he would necessarily be writing a Star Wars novel. It just said
Correct.
like I forget his name, but he just said, we'll be working with him on it, like you said, another book. So
Adam Christopher.
There you go. I'm not sure what else he's done, so I'm not too familiar with him as a writer.
And then on the heels of that, DK Publishing came out and said that the visual guide, the Pablo Hidalgo visual guide that I was eagerly awaiting.
Yeah, me too. Well, I really enjoy those. Visual guides are really useful resources for Star Wars fans to learn all the names of all the technology and the characters and the weapons and whatever. But yeah, I kind of am wondering what went on behind the scenes to prompt this, because you can see the two tweets from two different publishers and the wording was pretty much identical. So this came from Lucasfilm. This didn't come from the publishers. In all likelihood, this came right from Lucasfilm. They didn't want these books coming out this year. I'm sure we'll get a guide like that for The Mandalorian eventually, but for whatever reason, whatever's happening right now at The Mandalorian, they wanted to cancel or postpone these books. So I'm very curious what that's about.
Yeah, I'm sure there's all kinds of speculation out there bubbling within the Twitterverse, especially with various changes that have happened in The Mandalorian, that we know about. But obviously, I guess we won't find out until and if those publications kind of arrive on our doorstep. Maybe then we'll have a better idea as to what led to these changes at this time. I myself am Amy is talking about how she hopes they come out with more episodes of Mandalorian. We know that they are. Mike, what do you know about the timetable for future of Mandalorian?
Yeah, they've said they're making, season 3 has been greenlit. I believe they are shooting it now, or they're going to start shooting it soon. And it's supposed to arrive at some point in the first half of 2022. So we'll get the show called The Book of Boba Fett starting in December. And that I'm sure will go about 8 episodes. And then after that, at some point, we'll get Mandalorian Season 3 at the beginning of next year.
And this week, you have a Star Wars comic to highlight. It's the Star Wars title itself, copy number 12. And let me put Mike in the solo screen so you can see that he has that copy in his hands. There you go.
The I went out. I always go out to the comic shop. I like to support my local comic shop and buy the physical copy. And they're called House of Secrets in Burbank, California. I highly recommend those guys. They do a great job over there. And yeah, this issue was. You can put the cover back up if you don't mind, so I don't have to hold it up.
Okay, I will.
This issue was kind of like a. It was kind of like a fill-in issue between the big action chapters. So this one, it was Princess Leia kind of hanging out with this character Kes Dameron, who is Poe Dameron's father. Now, this comic is set between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, so it's like 30 years before the sequel trilogy, or a little bit more. You can see he's got a hologram of Poe Dameron as an infant or toddler there. He's showing that to Leia, so that kind of foreshadowed to me the relationship that Leia eventually has with Poe in the sequel trilogy. But they basically tell two stories in this to each other. Kes Dameron tells Leia about how he first met Shara Bey, who is Poe's mother, his wife, Kes's wife. And that was a cute little story about how Shara Bey was a pilot, a racer pilot on a casino planet, and Kes Dameron was there like for a bachelor party and like placed a bet on her just like on a whim because he liked her name, and she ended up winning this very dangerous race. And then he like introduced himself to the pilot after the race, and they like hit it off, and the rest was history for that couple. So they've been featured a lot in the comics lately, so they're trying to give us some more background for them. They were in the Shattered Empire comic books a little while ago, a few years ago. I guess that was like 5 years ago now when the first Force Awakens came out. And then they've been now featured in this main Star Wars title as one of the, the regular characters, Kes Dameron and Shara Bey. So now we know a little bit more about their past. And then Leia, in turn, tells Kes a story about Han Solo, because he was kind of asking. I actually thought this was pretty funny, because there's a line in the comic about how the rebels kind of found out that Leia and Han were an item.
Oh, wow.
Which builds a little bit on that book from a certain point of view.
Okay.
Which has 40 stories about. First they did Star Wars, and then they did The Empire Strikes Back. So in that book, there's like a funny story about how all the little rebel soldiers and the people who work at like the consoles and everything in Echo Base, they have like this bet going on whether or not Han and Leia are going to get together. Because they could see them like flirting a little bit and teasing each other a little bit. But then like it turns out that after The Empire Strikes Back, Lando like was gossiping about what was happening on Bespin on like the carbon freezing platform, because at that point Leia says to Han, "I love you," and of course he says the famous line, "I know." So apparently Lando, because Lando was there, and he like told all the rebels what happened. So now everybody knows that they're an item, and Kes Dameron was asking Leia like, because it seems like they're very different people. He was asking like what she sees in him. So she tells this story. There's this flashback now to Echo Base on Hoth about Han and Chewbacca basically saving the base from exploding, because there's this power generator or something that's gonna explode, and he and Chewbacca basically like are willing to sacrifice themselves potentially to fix it, and everybody else evacuates, and they're like, they take a part of the Falcon and they go and fix this generator before it explodes. So that was like her demonstrating that Han is really like kind of selfless, despite his attitude of being like this loner and a rogue hero kind of thing. He is actually committed to the rebel cause, and that was the first time that she like saw this other side of him. I guess the first time would have been in the Death Star battle when he comes back, but yeah, it's a touching story. It's very like emotional, and there wasn't a ton of like action or space battles or anything in this issue, but I did really like it. And it's written by Charles Soule, who's been writing this main Star Wars comic, and he does a great job. He really captures the voice of all these characters. There was one moment where Han Solo in the flashback called Chewbacca, and I was like, does he ever call Chewbacca, or doesn't he always call him Chewie?
Chewie.
Is there ever a moment in the movies where he calls him Chewbacca?
Oh, wow.
I guess the first time we ever meet him, I guess he says, Chewbacca here tells me, look, you're looking for a passage to Alderaan. That might be the only time that he calls him Chewbacca. Now I'm trying to think, but yeah, he called him Chewbacca, and I was like, that jumped out at me as like a out of character thing, but I don't know. Sorry,
No,
this
cool.
is the kind of things that I think about.
But now you've got me thinking, because yeah, I've just in thinking of moments in time, I'm also pulling up Chewie, and I wouldn't even have remembered that it was Chewbacca in that initial moment there. But it makes sense, since that would be our meeting of him as well. Yeah. So yeah. Okay, so now I'm gonna have to watch for that. The next time
I'm trying to replay that scene in my head, if he says Chewbacca or Chewie, or I don't know.
See, now you have homework.
Yeah, like I haven't seen that movie enough times, right? Do you think I would remember? Or is that Obi-Wan that says Chewbacca? I don't know. Yeah.
See, now you're gonna doubt yourself.
I do. I am doubting myself already, but we have to look it up.
Go with your gut. In the ShopDisney universe, they've launched this adorable line of plush and pin collection featuring Grogu. It's 4 poses with a matching pin. They offered some images from seemingly taken at Batuu, right?
We got a question. Should we take the question?
Oh, sure. I don't see the question. I just see I have the
question. Okay. Yes. So. Samari says she has a question. So if you have the question, go ahead and we'll try to answer it. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's all good. Oh, hang on. I have hit the wrong button. There you go. So with these Grogu items, I'm trying to bring them up. Let's see here. Go ahead, Samari, with your question. We are ready for them. Especially since my computer is giving me a challenge in this moment in time.
Was there? I saw part of the Barely Necessities where you were talking about these little Grogus. Was there one that jumped out at you as your favorite of those 4?
I actually am the most fond of the squid
I was
chowder.
Wrong. So Doobie, sorry, I keep interrupting.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Now we both clicked the same thing.
There you go.
Yeah, so I think he always calls him Chewie then. I was wrong. He doesn't say Chewbacca. He says Chewie in that scene too. So yeah, Charles Soule, I think you may have blew it on that one line, but everything else about your writing I love. I don't think Han ever calls Chewbacca.
and then the question came up. Oh, Sea Bacon is saying they know a guy who spent a lot of money for a sail barge. Are you familiar?
Yeah. We're gonna talk about that a little later, right?
I think so. Yeah. Why not? Yeah. Why not?
Okay.
But back to the pins. So there was this squid chowder one, and apparently it's a pivoting pin, so it can you can have the bowl kind of back and forth, and then this is what the matching plush looks like.
That's fun.
Was there one that you liked, Mike?
Okay, can you go back to the 4 so I can compare them all?
We've got.
I think that the meditating one is fun because I feel like you could put that somewhere, and he looks like he's sitting there in your apartment, meditating or whatever,
Yeah.
I think that's the one that I would pick of those 4. Although the eating the frog one is also cool.
I think the pin is more fun than the plush. there's the pin, and here's the plush. And then the bone broth one, it feels like just overplayed for me at this point, because you see it everywhere, right? Him with his little bone broth.
Right.
Let me move that off.
It's all the memeable moments of Grogu.
Yes. I have a question regarding the trailer. Go ahead and tell us what the question is, and we will be happy to discuss it as best we can.
And C. Bacon said that they saw Thrawn. Yeah, every week I try to put a different action figure here. So yes, this week is my Grand Admiral Thrawn Black Series 6-inch figure.
Which I feel like that's among your more favorite characters that have.
Yeah, I love Thrawn. I have the Lego minifigures up here too. Is probably too small to see.
Oh wow,
that's in there.
Yeah.
I could grab him.
Is he gonna come? Oh, there he comes.
There he is.
Big and mini Thrawns. Thrawns of varying sizes. Yeah, we like Star Wars too, Samari. That's part of what brings Mike here each and every week. Talk about Star Wars. Soon you'll be able to see some famous Star Wars props and stuff at the Academy. Yeah. This new museum that's set to open.
Yeah, so we actually have 2 big new entertainment museums that are being built right now in LA. One is the George Lucas Museum down next to USC, where I used to go to school. I'm super excited for that. But then there's also this Academy Museum down on Wilshire in the Miracle Mile, actually right by where I used to live. You can see Park La Brea in the background there too. So I used to live next to these places that are becoming much cooler than they were when I was there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this as well. And the Academy Museum is going to be very neat. And they just released this concept art of all this movie props and costumes that they're going to have. And C-3PO and R2-D2 are both going to be included among them. I see the pod from 2001: A Space Odyssey. Is that E.T. in the back center there?
It seems to be. That's what it looks like to me.
And Dora Milaje costume from Black Panther there on the right. I don't know what that monster is in the center. Do you?
No. My guesses were either something alien or abyss, but I'm not seeing either of those. So, but that's what it reminds me. That's the kind of look that it reminds me of. But
maybe the image is too small on my screen, but I can't. You'd think I would know what that is, but I can't tell based on this picture. But it looks like they're going to have a lot of cool stuff there. That's for sure.
And then they've also mentioned that Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, the Ben Burt sound design short film representation.
Yeah, I wasn't sure I understood what they meant by that.
Okay. Okay, good, because I was going to ask you, because when I read it, I'm like, I'm not really sure what that is. So
well,
good.
Ben Burt is a sound designer who worked on Star Wars and Raiders, I guess, but I'm not sure what they meant about this short film. I guess showing off how he did the sound design for Raiders. I'm not sure.
Well, they say that they're also going to have sensory displays. So I'm wondering if that's more kind of the sensory display element of it. Like you're going to get a feel for what he actually does with this sound design. And yes, Samari, we do. When Disneyland is open, Mike is there pretty much every week on behalf of Laughing Place, keeping us up to date on that. I visit Disney World frequently. I used to pretty much live there. And C. Bacon is joining you in admitting to having a lot of Star Wars.
Yeah, these are all, not all of them, but a lot of my Lego Star Wars minifigures here lined up behind me. Yeah, excited for that Academy Museum for sure.
And then in the world of fan-created artifacts, Nerdist and other fan publications have highlighted a homespun Grogu, and it is an 18-inch tall half-scale figure of Grogu.
So and they're like imagining Grogu as he's grown older, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like become a bounty hunter inspired by his mentor, his adopted father, Din Djarin. So he's got kind of Mandalorian inspired helmet that shaped around his ears, which is fun. And then he's got almost a Chewbacca looking bandolier and the mythosaur skull on his belt, which is cool. And he's even got, it looks like a lightsaber. So he's kind of continued in his Force training, his Jedi training as well. And what's that? Oh, is that the eggs? Oh, that's the eggs.
Yep. Gotta keep a snack handy.
That's fun, although a little dark. but I enjoy it. I like it.
I have to say, when I saw this, my question was, how do I envision him putting on this helmet? Like, so I was thinking like the ears would like kind of curl around the head and then like unroll back into it, or does the helmet like close like a hinge over?
Right.
What? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know either.
Right? Because it's obviously you're not just gonna put it down on your head. And this is by artist Sean Valoria, and like I say, Nerdist and other fan celebratory public websites have been featuring this. Let's see. Do you think Grogu would bite at the same speed as Yoda in Attack of the Clones if he had had a lightsaber when he got older? So what would you say? Would you envision he had the same type of speed and flexibility?
Yeah. This always comes back to one of my criticisms about the prequels is I never pictured Yoda fighting with a lightsaber. So when I first saw that scene in the theater in 2002, I thought it was very out of character for Yoda to be jumping and flipping and flying all over the place like Pikachu. But I guess maybe because he's the same species as Yoda, he would have a similar fighting style, or he might have a closer fighting style to what Luke has because he's being trained by Luke. So we have to table this and have this discussion like outright sometime, because I would love to just kind of showcase how our perceptions were, because I too, because of Empire and Return of the Jedi, I had established my own headcanon regarding who Yoda was. Yeah.
And so then to kind of have them redefine that and reshape it.
It wasn't just you. It was George Lucas as well, because I read a quote recently. I talked about this on the podcast like a week or two ago when we did The Empire Strikes Back. But there's a quote from George Lucas in one of those behind the scenes books that I was reading where he said Yoda and Emperor Palpatine on the other side are both like removed from the Jedi and the Sith. Like they are more the mystics that don't fight with the lightsabers. And he totally either forgot that or changed his mind by the time he made the prequels, because obviously Yoda and Palpatine are fighting with lightsabers in those movies. So, in the original trilogy, his intent was for Yoda to be more removed from the Jedi and not be one of the Jedi who fight with the sabers. So,
interesting. Okay.
This is a direct quote from George Lucas, so it wasn't just my and your imagination deciding that was the original intent,
And C. Bacon is mentioning that they like the Yoda theme at the end of the duel when he was saving Obi and Annie. So sure. Yoda is cute. Do you find Yoda cute?
Yeah, I think, Grogu is probably cuter by design. He's supposed to be cuter. But yeah, Yoda is cute in his own little old man kind of way.
Now, Yoda has made some appearances already now within the High Republic content that's out there, correct?
Yes.
Are they furthering kind of the Yoda we saw in Attack of the Clones, or is it kind of more reminiscent of the Yoda we had in Empire?
Oh, I would say he's closer to the prequel era Yoda because, it's just rewinding time another 200 years. So, yeah, he's 200 years younger, but he's still at that point. Let me see if I can do the math. He's still around 700 years old.
Right.
So he's still old, but not quite as old as we saw him in the movies. But yeah, he's out there fighting and he's training Padawans and stuff. So he's closer to the prequels.
So they're building. So they're in essence further shaping him in the lightsaber embracing Yoda that we saw in Attack of the Clones, rather than what I would call kind of the more detached philosophical Yoda that we saw with Empire. Okay.
Yes, though he does have some of that too, as he does in the prequels as well. They did mix in a little bit of that. Yeah.
And I agree, Loth cats are cute. In fact, we have a video of one sleeping and purring in the sun on Batuu. We just posted that, I want to say, within the past week on our Laughing Place Twitter. So,
Wow, C Bacon's dropping some trivia that I cannot answer because I don't remember. There is a Jedi Grandmaster in the High Republic, and the name escapes me. I just read about it too because it was in one of the recent comics where they dropped that name, but I do not remember the name. I'm sorry. This was the question that C. Bacon asked, by the way. Who is the Grandmaster in the High Republic? But
I
yes, that is a name that exists. It's not a name that I recall.
I will admit that when I used to read the extended universe novels, I often had a 3x5 card and I would write down their names and like a little brief like bio of who they were as we went. Because I would get, first of all, they're not names I can relate to, especially the one I tried to read. I've tried to read it like 3 different times and I get about a third of the way through. And their names are just so full of consonants with no vowels that I just would kind of drop out. And so I am not surprised.
Samari wanted to know how old is Yoda, and Yoda says he's 900 years old in the original trilogy, which makes him 700 years old in the High Republic era because it's 200 years earlier. So by the time he dies in Return of the Jedi, he's about 900.
Well, our next story takes us to the permafrost of Russia, believe it or not, like all the way. See that little dot? That's where we're headed, because they have created has created a replica of the Razor Crest, and this is out in the town of Yakutsk. Sorry, there's a K there. Yakutsk.
It's like a Star Wars name.
Yeah, out in this town, and this is considered one of the coldest big cities on Earth. I did a little bit of research into the city because it just blew me away. That temperatures fall as low as negative 22 degrees Fahrenheit in this town. So that was part of the struggle that the creator had in bringing this replica to life. There's some of the team behind it. And it's out in, it measures 46 feet long, and it's about 33 feet high, and it weighs about a little over a ton.
Wow.
And they just put this out there in this park in Russia.
That's pretty amazing that people have first of all, the skill to build something like this, and then also the time and the effort, that it takes to put this together. And then it's probably not full scale. I don't think that's 1-to-1 scale, but it's probably like 2/3 scale, I would say.
Yeah, all the references I see to it say full scale, but I'm with you. It seems to me that it might not be, because it seems a little smaller, but still he can sit in that cockpit.
Yeah, it's pretty nifty.
Fun. So I like this, how they compared it to that cool moment in the this is a town of about 200,000 people, and apparently it is one of its previously known facts is that it's featured in the game of Risk. Did you ever play Risk? My friends adored Risk. I never played it.
One time we played a very long game of Risk, and we had to stop. And for whatever reason, we wanted to continue later, so we took a bunch of pictures of like how many people everybody had in each country, and we've never gone back to it. But I think my wife has those pictures somewhere, and eventually we're going to continue that game of Risk. But we probably won't remember like who was playing which color or what. Yeah. I want to address some of the questions we got, if that's okay.
Oh, please do.
Oops, I clicked the wrong one. C Bacon says that they have to go. Goodbye, C Bacon. Samari asked, can we play Kahoot about Star Wars? Yes. In fact, we have a very concrete plan on May the 4th, Star Wars Day this year. Mark your calendar for Tuesday, May 4th. We're going to be doing an all Star Wars all the time Kahoot Disney Trivia Live. So 7:30 p.m. Western Pacific time. Show up for that. And then JJ is asking if we've ever seen Turkish Star Wars. This is something that I've heard about. It's a Turkish kind of remake of Star Wars that came out in the wake of the original film. I haven't actually seen it. I think I've seen a trailer for it. Do you know about that, Rebecca?
I do not.
Yeah, it's kind of like a rip-off Star Wars that was made in Turkey, which is interesting and fun.
Oh, wow. Star Wars Day on LP, May the 4th.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of stuff happening that day. The Bad Batch first episode is coming out. I'm sure we'll get some news, and we'll have some fun doing some live videos and stuff.
Which was among the items that was featured in the shareholder collage, which kind of surprised me. Because I think of those events. Let's see, it was it Tuesday that we just had that shareholder day? Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
I was just trying to remember. And they, that's when the Disney company kind of comes forward and talks to the shareholders and talks about where the business is standing, economically, and how they performed. And then they offer a little bit of a peek, kind of, what their intentions are moving forward. And they have this enormous graphic. Now, usually we get a nice sizzle reel right before the meeting, and they showcase. It's like a pep rally for the Disney company. This year they didn't have video. It was just an audio presentation, but they did have this graphic, and it has like various Disney properties. And I pay attention to those because I think it's interesting what they choose to put forward. And in the case of that particular one, they put forward the Bad Batch as kind of the Star Wars representation, right, Mike? I don't know that was Mandalorian on there as well.
On that collage image?
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up.
I think one of the bigger pictures was the Mandalorian in my memory. There we
go. Hang on, I'm pulling it up. It's almost here.
I'm pretty sure that was one of the central images, was Din Djarin and his helmet there.
Yeah. So like I say, and I like to see kind of, because to me this is an indication of I don't know, in some ways, like how they want to define themselves moving forward, or how they want people to think about the company. And so in this case, it jumped out to me that you have the Mandalorian and Grogu, right? Which totally makes sense. And then as far as other representation, it's the Big Batch, which is Disney Plus content, right?
Right. So I think it's all either recent or upcoming stuff that they're promoting. Yeah. What's the Will Smith thing?
I believe that to be the National Geographic. He's doing a kind of an exploration, an extreme exploration program on Nat Geo. So that's my guess. It's harder to know because Will Smith does, action adventure, and then he also, but I know that he has a Nat Geo thing planned, so I'm gonna guess it's that.
I kept meaning to ask that, and I kept forgetting. And then what's the one above Loki there? The green. Green thing. That
is I'm pretty sure that's the Seattle Sounders. So that's the soccer. I believe.
So that's ESPN type.
So that's my understanding on that one. Okay. So the one I don't know is the redhead at the very bottom of the screen, just right between Raya and that's the one I don't know. So
no, I can't tell who that is.
I asked the team and they told me, and I've already forgotten. So I'll have to go back and relearn that one. But here you go, a little factoid about the Lucasfilm.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a bit too.
I suspect that's why Kidder brought it up, because Kidder is very good at highlighting things that are useful to us. Mike's podcast will be talking about that. But hey, Mike, we have just a little bit of time. Do you want to do a Star Wars quiz, or do you want to save that for a future episode?
Yeah, let's do it.
This is one of those that you answer questions and they tell you who should be your teacher. And I thought, since we were talking about Yoda, we'll see who Star Wars thinks should train you. So So it's not a fact. It's not a fact-based. It's philosophical. So, what is your favorite subject to study among these? Would it be spelling, philosophy, history, or biology?
Well, the one I'm probably best at is spelling, but the one that I'm most interested in, it's between philosophy and history. I will say history. I'll say history for that one.
Okay. Your least favorite subject in school: phys ed, physics, family and computer science, or math?
This one's easy to answer for me. It's going to be physical education.
The most important part of prepping for the school day: is it eating a healthy breakfast, getting enough rest, remembering what you've learned, or just showing up?
I will say just showing up because I'm bad at the other three.
I want to understand this image of Leia. How this ties into the question.
Yeah, that seems very random.
But it is among my more favorite Leia moments, so I'm not going to complain. The first thing you would pack for class: your pencils and paper, your notebook, a hoodie, or an e-reader?
Well, e-readers did not exist when I was in school, so as an old man, I will say a notebook.
A notebook. As an old man, is that because Palpatine's up there? Good teachers are often strong leaders. What other qualities do you look for in a mentor? Perfectionism. Yeah, that's what I look for in a mentor. No.
Well, for me, it would have to be patience because I'm a slow learner.
Summer vacation: travel, science experiments at home, relaxing in quiet contemplation, or at the beach? How were Mike's summers spent?
Well, as a kid, it was more. As growing up, it was more staying at home and learning on my own. But these days, it's going to be all about traveling after the pandemic's over. So let's say traveling.
Favorite hobby: crafting, sparring, meditation, or playing an instrument?
Ooh. I'm not good at it, but I'm going to say favorite is crafting. I like the idea of making stuff, though I'm bad at it.
Gotcha. When your training is complete, you would want to be an entrepreneur, a politician, a teacher, or a musician?
Wow. None of these really. I would really like to be a musician, though again I'm very bad at it. But yeah, I mean, I would love to be able to play the piano or something. So let's say that one.
Sometimes I like to figure out who I would end up with. Like, who are they guiding me towards? If I chose an entrepreneur,
right.
So I feel like this would be, if I chose entrepreneur, I'd be Lando. If I say politician, it'd be Leia. Teacher, Yoda, and musician, it'd be Max Rebo, right?
Figuring Dan and Max Rebo, yeah.
And will you finish what you started?
For me, maybe. It's a hard maybe.
Hard maybe, okay. Ed, how would your previous teachers describe you as a student? Stubborn, reckless, hard worker, fast learner?
I'm probably going to fall in the stubborn category.
Okay. And let's see, your teacher is Tobias Beckett.
Wow, I was not expecting that at all. But I'm glad they put that in there because that's kind of an outside the box teacher. Right? You know, he was kind of Han Solo's mentor in Solo: A Star Wars Story, and I wasn't expecting that to be one of the options. So there you go. I got Woody Harrelson. That's pretty good.
And then in the description they say he won't be teaching Introduction to Valacord anytime soon. But if you listen closely and take plenty of notes, Tobias's lectures may just change your life. At the very least, they'll make you more cautious about who you trust.
And yeah, he is like me because he always talked about playing the Valacord and never got to learn because he got killed in that movie.
So yeah. So see, next time we can find out which outfit from Lando Calrissian's closet suits your style.
Oh, that'll be fun. That'll be very fun.
So stay tuned, right?
Yeah.
As always, we're going to finish up today's chat by showcasing Mike's upcoming episode of Who's the Bossk?
Well, this is the one that came out this week, so it's already out yesterday.
Oh, right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this year we're doing all of Lucasfilm, basically from the beginning, from 1971 through when Disney bought it about a decade ago. And this week's episode is about Raiders of the Lost Ark, one of my favorite movies ever made. And you watched this recently, Rebekah,
I did.
with your family.
I love this movie. It's one of the films for me where I feel like I loved the characters even more than the story itself. I walked away from this very much loving Indiana Jones and Mary and Ravenwood and wanting to, Sala just like I just very much love the characters in this movie.
Yeah, I love Indy too, and all those characters as well. And I was very excited to get started talking about the Indiana Jones franchise on the podcast. We had one episode last year about Indiana Jones, but this time we're gonna, this year we're gonna do, we did Raiders, we're gonna do Temple of Doom in a few weeks, then Last Crusade a little bit later, and eventually talk about Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which I'm looking forward to, as though, although I don't care for that movie as much. We'll also be talking about the Indiana Jones video games and rides and stuff too. So, JJ said Raiders is better than Star Wars. That's controversial, but on my list of favorite movies ever, Raiders of the Lost Ark probably does fall before the original Star Wars film. Although Empire might beat out Raiders for me. So
I was gonna I would be similar. I think no, I don't know, but I loved Marion. I was quite upset that Marion was not in subsequent films for too long.
Right.
That her character just disappeared.
I asked my wife this the other day. Maybe I'll ask you too and see what you think. We'll start a pool going. My question was, do you think in Indiana Jones 5, which is in pre-production right now, they will mention Shia LaBeouf's character at all? Will he even be referenced?
Oh. You know what? I have to think about it, because I'll be honest, that movie is such a blur to me.
Yeah.
Because I enjoyed it, but everybody else hated it. And so I just kind of put it aside, because it's one of those things where if I enjoy something and nobody else likes it, then I stop talking about it, because it's just boring to constantly defend how I felt about it. So I need to see it again now that I'm removed from that. And I like Amy talking about your strong maybe, right?
Yeah.
What did your wife say? I
don't recall if she even gave me an answer.
Oh, see, she may have been like in a quandary about it, like I am. So I don't know. Wow. Huh. We'll see. And
I mean, I highly doubt he'll be in it.
Right.
Because of, he like bad-mouthed the experience afterwards. I think he's probably on the outs with Steven Spielberg, though Spielberg's not directing anymore. He's still the producer. And then, Shia LaBeouf personally has not had a great... that's...
Save the Tortugas liked it too. I'm not alone. I feel so much better.
Hey, Save the Tortugas. Is Shia LaBeouf going to be in Kingdom of, in Indiana Jones 5?
I want to know. I want to know what you think. So now I don't feel alone. That's nice, because everybody I was with was just so disappointed, and it was a fun ride. It was
enough.
Fun ride.
My guest for that episode, I think, is also a fan of that movie, so we're going to have a nice discussion about what does work and what doesn't work in Indy 4.
Those are the fun. Those I enjoy those talks a lot. In that, I like it when people explain why they think it's bad. Do you know what I mean? Rather than just be like, "Oh, I hate it," and then just kind of goes back to what you were talking about regarding the shareholder meeting. It's like the same head of Lucasfilm. If Kathleen Kennedy as head of Lucasfilm, you can't divorce her from the success of Mandalorian and only lay your disappointment of the Skywalker saga at her feet. I
saw a headline or a comment somewhere that was like, Bob Chapek confirms that Kathleen Kennedy will be in charge of most projects at Lucasfilm, while Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau will only remain in charge of a few of them. And I was like, this is just a fundamental misunderstanding of how the film industry works, because Kathleen Kennedy is in charge of everything at Lucasfilm.
Right?
She is just as much in charge of The Mandalorian as she is in charge of anything else you've seen in the last decade come out of Lucasfilm. So, it's not that Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau staged a coup and decided to make The Mandalorian off on their own. and somehow released it through Lucasfilm on their own. No, Kathleen Kennedy greenlit that project. It was released under her. So anything you liked about it, you know, she was as much responsible for that as The Last Jedi, which I'm sure you hated too. But yeah, I don't know. That bugs me because people like to pretend that they know more about the intricacies of the entertainment industry than they do, which is this weird phenomenon. I don't know. I don't really get it, but
I got into very, very heated disputes with friends over The Last Jedi because I just can't hate it as much as they do. I understand why they do. I don't. It makes Luke's story arc makes sense to me based upon my life experience. I get why it doesn't to them, but like I say,
I think you got to be a little bit older to get what Luke is doing in The Last Jedi. I totally understand retreating from society. Like, I totally get that as a 40-plus-year-old, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, to me, it felt reminiscent of finding Yoda on Dagobah.
Yeah. I think people see a little difference there, though, because, I mean, there's a debate to be had over whether or not Yoda planned to train Luke. Like,
Gotcha.
if that was part of his plan. Because he does say, you know, he's too old, he's too reckless or whatever. But is that part of, like, Yoda's, like, messing with Luke or whatever? But, you know, Yoda, on the surface at the very least, Yoda has to be convinced to train Luke in a similar way to how Luke has to be convinced to train Rey, although not quite on the same level, I guess. But,
no. It's clear that Luke is very much, but once again, I turn to the fact that Yoda seems like a much more even keel individual overall. So I can imagine him being divorced in a different way, where Luke kind of like burned it all.
Right. And
he tended to be a bit more impulsive,
right, and more idealistic at the beginning. And yeah, his whole heart was into becoming a Jedi, and then I'm sure training the Jedi, and his heart got broken so badly by what happened to Ben Solo, and he felt that he had let down Ben Solo and failed not only Ben, but everyone else he was training, and the entire Jedi Order and the whole history of the Jedi Order. I totally, like, it makes sense to me 100% what happened to Luke in The Last Jedi. But I get how a younger person looking at that character in the original trilogy would be disappointed that he didn't just come back and be, you know, the way we saw him in The Mandalorian, where he's still that Jedi Luke. But I'm glad those people got to see him again in that way. But at the same time, characters have to change. Characters must change. That is a fundamental rule of storytelling. If characters don't change, it's completely uninteresting. Sorry, I'm going off my rant now. But,
no, but it's one of those things where I didn't know you during that time, and I have yet to like dive into these topics with you, and I keep meaning to, but we don't get it because I'm curious because our journeys are, you know, almost a decade apart regarding Star Wars, and so that brings different sensibilities to it, and it's fun because you ultimately it boils down to you love these characters, and when you come at it from that place where you love these characters and you have certain headcanon that you've created because of the way the films speak to you and your life experiences bring that facet, that shade to the character. I think it only broadens your love of it when you can see it through friends' eyes who also love it, even if they don't necessarily agree with you. But I like that. That's part of what I like about films like this that have these mythologies, and you can you see that. See, for example, Amy says she enjoyed 5, and it was fun seeing Indiana and Marion reunite. And I think some people underestimated the value of that reunion for it can forgive some other sins, right?
I do want to point out that I am self-aware enough to know that my criticisms of Yoda fighting with a lightsaber in the prequels are very similar to people's criticisms of Luke's
Right?
attitude in The Last Jedi.
Totally.
And yes, it's just entirely because of my age. So I get it. I'm a huge hypocrite. So
exactly. And Tortugas agrees with me that, sometimes you just stop talking about films you like because it gets tiring to constantly defend them. In this case,
I know. That's why I stopped. That's why I stopped talking about Cabin Boy.
Cabin Boy. Okay. Okay. Oh man. So let's see. I guess that's it for today. We've talked about the Star Wars headlines of the week. We'll be back in a week to share with you more that's happening within Star Wars. Mike, other than your podcast over here at LP, what you got going on this week?
I'm not going to Universal anymore. That's for sure. That's a whole thing. But let's see. Saturday I'll be at SeaWorld San Diego, and we'll do a live stream from there. And then a week from today, I will be at Disney California Adventure for A Touch of Disney, which I'm super, super excited for.
That's hard to believe.
And then like a month after that, we'll hopefully be back in the parks with some rides going. And you know what? I just can't wait for that ball to start rolling and eventually get back to normal, because it's been a year. It's been a whole year of this.
And then I know you're part of this LP TV club we've started, right? I think you're going to talk DuckTales.
Yeah, in an hour at 2 p.m. Pacific, we're going to talk about the newest episode of DuckTales. It's just the penultimate episode of the whole series, and The Simpsons, and what else? What else is on that list? Sulphur Springs, I've never seen.
Yeah. Very cool.
Whatever new Disney stuff happened this week in TV.
Very fun. So that's a new thing we've got here. This is the second edition of it. We grab a collection of our team here at LP and discuss kind of what's happening on the various streaming services. And it feels weird because I don't know exactly what to call it, but we call it LP TV, I guess, because I hardly watch anything on my TV anymore. I watch it like everywhere else. So so come back in about an hour for that. Mike and Benji, Alex, some others on our team will be here discussing all those things. And as always, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at laughingplace. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and that way you'll get notifications when we do go live here on YouTube. So once again, this is Star Wars Headlines for the week of March 11th, and we'll see you all next time. Bye.